And for the latest updates on the summit, we are now connected with our reporter Arya Siddhartha and video journalist Dian Merdekawati in Nusa Dua, Bali. Hello Arya, what do you have for us at this moment?
Right. Thank you, Bruce. So we are right now at the tail end of the first working session. Now, as you've seen previously in that clip, this session was opened by a speech from the President of Indonesia, President Joko Widodo. Now, President Jokowi began that speech by speaking on the divisive geopolitical situation that the world finds itself in right now. For example, there are threats to global food security and other threats. And the importance of the G20 countries, the President Jokowi highlighted the importance of the G20 countries to set aside their differences in order to create solutions to these issues. And also, he spoke about how we should not let the world fall into another Cold War. So he was very much stressing the importance of the G20 and setting the stakes high as we begin the summit. Now, aside from that, he also highlighted the achievements of the G20, such as, for example, the pandemic fund. Now, the pandemic fund is set aside in the event of another pandemic, if that were ever to happen. Now, of course, this is reflective of the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic that happened recently. And in that pandemic, a lot of lower income countries had difficulties with their less than robust health infrastructure system. So the pandemic fund is set aside so that these less fortunate countries may be able to protect their citizens much better in the event of another pandemic. Now, it is also interesting to note that during that opening remark, President Jokowi was accompanied by two of his ministers. Now, they were both behind Jokowi and they were in frame. They were Finance Minister Sri Mulyani and also the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Retno Marsudi. Now, they were sitting right behind President Jokowi. They were in frame. And women empowerment has always been a key issue discussed in the G20 and side events throughout the year. And it's great to see that the empowerment is on full display. And it shows how serious Indonesia is regarding the issue with both of the female ministers in Jokowi's cabinet, who are also very accomplished themselves. So that is in regards to where the situation is at right now.
Okay, Arya, the working session on food and energy has concluded. How did it go and what were the results?
Right, thank you, Bruce. So the session itself was closed, so the press were not privy to the discussions going on during the session. However, the food security itself, so the main topic of conversation during those sessions is food and energy security. Now, the food security is most likely discussing about the food supply chain issues that are currently happening. They are currently in disarray due to the Russia-Ukraine war. Now, Russia and Ukraine are both one of the biggest wheat exporters in the entire world, and a deal is currently being discussed as now wheat exports are not able to leave the countries. Now, a deal is currently being discussed in which it would allow Ukraine to export wheat through the Black Sea, but as of yet, Russia has not yet agreed with the terms of those agreements yet. So, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres actually mentioned yesterday that he would want to monitor the specific issues very closely so that the deal would come through and then food security will be maintained. Now, aside from food security, there was also discussions on energy security. Now, the discussions on energy security, of course, if you are in the G20 in Bali, you would see electric vehicles. They are everywhere. The EVs seem to be at the forefront, and it is the face of the energy transition agenda in G20. However, the energy transition is not the only topic of conversation, as energy security is also equally as important, as we see with gas prices increasing all over the world. There are fears that priorities are shifting into maintaining conventional energy rather than adopting newer, more renewable green energies as the energy needs across the world rise. Now, during the discussions on, for example, net zero carbon emissions. A lot of energy giants, such as, for example, state-owned oil and gas corporation Pertamina, showcased their innovations in the energy sector, such as the usage of geothermal energy and hydrogen to be able to transition towards more renewable energy. So that would be the discussions currently going on. But again, the results of the discussions of which are not privy to the press as of yet. So we will have to see about that.
Now, Arya, Indonesian President Joko Widodo held several bilateral meetings yesterday. At this point, can you share with us the results and outcomes from those meetings?
Right, Bruce. So bilateral meetings have been held yesterday and is going to be held today as well, actually, as the next agenda will be after the second working session on health, which will be focusing on the global health infrastructure, such as the pandemic fund that I've mentioned previously. There will be spots for bilateral meetings, although schedules for those bilateral meetings are as of yet not been published. But in yesterday's bilateral meetings, President Joko Widodo did hold some bilateral meetings, including meetings with US, Japan, and Australia. Now, in regards to those meetings, with President Biden, President Joko spoke about mainly the Indo-Pacific economic framework and also the importance of strengthening the relations between ASEAN and the USA. Meanwhile, the meeting with Prime Minister Fumio Kishida of Japan, President Jokowi spoke about pushing for the finishing of the Indonesia-Japan Economic Partnership Agreement, as well as giving his appreciation towards Japan for their contributions during the development of Jakarta's and the continued development of Jakarta's MRT subway system. And finally, with the Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, Jokowi, during his sessions, spoke about the partnership between Indonesia and Australia in regards to their exports, but also President Jokowi notably invited Australia to participate in the Indo-Pacific Infrastructure Forum. Back to you, Bruce.
All right, that was our news team, Arya Siddhartha and Dian Merdekawati, live from Nusa Dua, Bali. Thank you both for your report. And those were the C2 updates for now. We'll have more for you later on at 3 p.m. I'm Bruce Puan. Thank you for watching.